What's up, viewers, subscribers, and agents alike? This your boy Enlight Luciferian Prince coming at y'all. It's early in the morning, and I don't even feel like being up. But for the most part, all you COVID-19 the quarantiners, yeah, we're here. And this video, yes, it's going to be very controversial. It's going to be, for the most part, unprecedented, because at the time like now, we need to discuss these issues. So what I'm going to name this video, what I'm going to call this video, I'm going to call it Taxes, Take It or Leave It. Now, for the people who understand my previous videos in regards to taxation, it's not anti-government. It's actually a legal remedy in regards to you actually not having to pay taxes. If you want to pay taxes, you can. And I know that this is going to get a little bit of flack because it's not in the government interest in regards to taxation, in regards to your own personal private property. Now, rewinding and getting back to previous videos that I did, I took off myself because people were misusing the content for their own selfish gain. I'm going to just go over this, and like I said before, if you want the information, you're going to have to contact me privately in regards to this information, because I can't place the documentation online anymore because people are bitches. Hey, get up. But long story short, let's get to it without further ado. Here it is. If you want the information, please contact me. Hard copy, you can get it for a fee. Yes, you're gonna get it for a small fee. Trust me, I will get it to you ASAP. But for the simple fact, I can't put this online because, again, people do bullshit. Long story short, this is coming from documentation. I'm reading, and if you want further information in regards to that, please contact me via email. Here we go. The single most important document that you will ever study concerning the income tax and Internal Revenue Service. From studying the trusts, we will find that upon the application for a number for a trust, the Internal Revenue Service, they will respond with a letter stating that now you are a trustee for the trust just registered. You must file a Form 1041 every quarter. Now, knowing that they have set us up as a trust in the Social Security Administration, and they being the grantor of the trust, they have appointed us as trustee for the strawman's trust. We should have been filing a Form 1041 for our trust all these years instead of the Form 1040, which is a federal employee form according to the OMB number, Office of Management and Budget. Study the document and learn what it is saying, and you, if you have been filing, can claim the last 3 years on your return. Whoa, it's a fact. Eliminate taxes. When we file for the Social Security number, we will consider one of the following. Number 1, a U.S. citizen. 2, nationalized citizen. Number 3, a 14th Amendment citizen. Number 4, a sovereign citizen. Since the fourth was not offered, we should have chosen for the other. Now, before I proceed, there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. There's no such thing. You're either sovereign or you're a citizen. You cannot be both. That is a misnomer. We discovered the absolute solution to IRS taxes in the United States of America. The absolute solution is a direct result of understanding what the Social Security Administration, SSA, is and what it does. What it is. The Social Security Administration is a subpart of the corporation known as the United States government. Congress formed the United States government as a corporation in an act called the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. This means that we are not talking about national government of the United States of America. We're talking about the private corporation named the United States Government Corporation, United States, capitalized. What it does: when, for whatever reason, a person determines that they want a Social Security account, they make an application for the trust in the Social Security Administration for such an account. The Social Security Administration number creates a trust and makes the account number for your trust in the Social Security Administration's General Trust Fund. The account number for the trust is known as the Social Security number. Social Security Administration makes the applicant the trustee for the trust. They named the trust with a title that sounds like the trustee's name, but is spelled in all capital letters. In other words, at your request, the trust Social Security Administration creates for you is given an account number in the General Trust Fund and becomes a taxpayer in the District of Columbia. It abides in the District of Columbia from the date it was created and exists forever, even though you may reside elsewhere. When you act as trustee for that trust, you act in Washington, D.C. People are born with their parents. Parents did give them names, which names are proper nouns. Proper nouns are also spelled with the initial letters of each word capitalized. The trust the Social Security Administration created is given a name which sounds like the applicant's name, except that it is spelled with all capital letters. That name is a title to a trust. When anyone uses that title, they're using the name of the trust. You can be sure they're using the name of the trust when, along with the title, they use the account number for the trust. Think about it. When a person goes to get a job with a company, which person is applying for the job? The trust of the man. If so, it's the trust. Then when the trust is paid for its services, the pay will be made in the name of the trust and or the Social Security number. Question. If it is the man, then when the man is paid for his services, the pay will be made in the name of the man and the Social Security number will not be used. Look at it. Check it is the trust name and or Social Security number, or is it in the man's name? Is it you who's applying for the job? That's a good question you have to ask yourself. When a man opens a bank account, does he open it in the name of the trust, or does he open an account in his own name? When he buys a house, gets a loan, does he use a trust name and or Social Security number, or his own natural name only? The answer is that if he used the trust name and the Social Security number, it is the trust that opens the bank account or buys the house. It is not you as a natural person. Next page, where the action takes place. Notice where in the action is taking place. Though the trustee may live or reside in some other location, the trust exists in Washington, D.C. Therefore, the action takes place in Washington, D.C., which is the trust situs. In other words, Washington, D.C. is the place where the trust's legal taxing actions takes place. When the trust acts in Washington, D.C. only, regardless of where the trustee is when the action takes place. Now, ask yourself two questions. First, are you a federal employee? Two, where do you perform an action for someone? Do you expect to be paid for it? Remember your answers. They are the keys to unraveling the tax question presented by most tax protesters and solutions given by the IRS. When taxed, we must remember that the person being taxed is the person employed by the tax jurisdiction. We asked the question before, who has being employed? If the person employed was the trust, then it's the proper IRS form to file is the 1041. As I said in my previous video, if the person was employed was a human, then the IRS says the proper form to file is the 1040. If you take a look at the OMB numbers, the Office of Management and Budget number at the top right-hand corner of the IRS forms, you will find a number required by the Paperwork Reduction Act. That number is required to be cross-referenced to the code section that necessitates the use of the form and has been OMB authorized for such use. The cross-reference index shows that the 1040 form is allowed to be used in accordance with the code section within Title 26 and 31, which section only applies to federal employees. That means the only federal employees can use the form 1040. Therefore, if you use the 1040, you are claiming to be a federal employee. If you are not a federal employee and use the 1040, you are lying to the IRS, which is a crime according to the United States Federal Criminal Code. What happens when people act as trustee of a trust? They are protected by the corporation's sole nature of the position trustee. However, when a trustee begins to receive benefits from the trust outside of the trustee's fiduciary fees, the trustee creates a general partnership with the trust. General partnerships are equally, collectively, and severally liable for the obligations of all other general partners within the partnership. Taxable. Now, let's put it all together. SSA, Social Security Administration, created a trust with the Social Security number, and if that trust was employed, it would constitute a federal employee. Not because the corporation United States is the employer, but because of who the trust creator is. If you are a general partner with the federal employee, then you are equally, collectively, and severally liable for their obligations. When you buy groceries with funds from the Social Security trust number, it appears that you are a general partnership with the trust. Therefore, when the trust owes a mandatory tax, So does its general partners. The IRS has no authority to deal with humans other than federal employees, Form 1040, and non-resident aliens or U.S. citizens that owe tax in Puerto Rico. That's the Form 2555. If you have created a general partnership with the trust and then you owe any and all taxes, the trust is liable for just as much as the trust does, and you are just as much a federal employee as the trust. Therefore, a proper form to file for you would be a 1040. Here we go. Tax-free. What if the trust was to file its own taxes? Even if you had a general partnership, any tax obligation would have already been met and there would be no tax obligation remaining for the general partner. The proper form for a partnership to file is a Form 1041. About all there is to calculating a 1041 is you take the funds that were in the trust account at the beginning of the year, subtract them from the funds in the account at the end of the year, and the result is the net gain or loss. Then you subtract the net gain or loss from the year's increase, which gives you the amount spent by the trust. Now, here we go. Are you a federal employee? Now, the obvious question is, are you a federal employee? Answer is no. If you are not a federal employee, then the Form 1040 is the wrong form to be filed. Will you perform an action for someone do you expect to be paid for? The answer is obviously yes. Then ask yourself, what was your wage? I expect your wage will have been on an all expense paid wage. Now go back to the amount spent by the trust and notice that all of the funds spent by the trust were spent on the trustee. Remember back to the time when you got jobs and you performed for the trust. Did you not plan on using the funds you generated from the trust to meet all your expenses? Then notice that the funds spent by the trust were all generated from you, the fiduciary. That means the amount spent by the trust goes on the Form 1041 and a line designated for fiduciary fees. If you calculate the form, you will most likely get a notice that there are no taxes owed by the trust. That means that even if there were a general partnership between the trust and trustee, there is no tax obligation for the general partner. The only real problem left is that most people at the IRS think you owe tax. That's because when the SSA, Social Security Administration, creates a trust, they do it constructively. Number one, without an indenture, without a deed, according to the statute. We solved the problem by creating a proper indenture and then by sending that to the indenture to the Social Security Administration. This methodology is being taught now and in every case has been used. The IRS has paid every claim by returning the past 2 years' taxes to everyone that has claimed them. Simple. This information is given for educational purposes only. Each person must understand and use it at their own personal risk. Now, indenture, definition. A deed to which two or more persons are parties, in which these enter into reciprocal and corresponding grants or obligations towards each other, whereas a deed poll is properly one in which the party making it executes it or binds himself or herself to it as a deed. The grantors or grantees therein may be several in number. 3. To cut in a serrating and waving line, to bind by indentures, to apprentice, as to indent a young man to a shoemaker. Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. If you want this information, please contact me via email. I cannot place this stuff online. I can send it to you a hard copy. As I said before, tax-free. If you want to keep paying taxes, you can keep paying taxes. It's your business. It is your personal business. You can keep doing it. It's perfectly fine. Trust me, this is not anti-tax, it's not anti-government. What it is, it's information for you to wake up and stop depending on a stimulus check and take accountability in your own personal, private, commercial life. Peace. I love y'all. Agents, you know what it is. Putting it out there.